Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are well. So we talked about the music of the blues, and we talked about the music that developed in America after Africans were brought to these shores for slavery, and we also talked about New Orleans, and we discussed how New Orleans music came out of ragtime, the Scott Joplin era, and how that music came out of marches. And we could hear it later on being uh, applied in New Orleans music. But New Orleans music had other things too that were added on. It started to develop what we call rhythms formed from clave. And in Spanish, clave are an instrument of two sticks that resonate, and they play the beat that everyone in the band associates with to play their music. And there are various patterns. And those patterns come straight out of West Africa. And some of those patterns, you can hear it, you'll hear one, bop, 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 the bop, one, bop, 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 the bop, one, bop, 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 the bop, one, bop, 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 the bop. Or you will hear another clave which started on one, bop, 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 bop. Another clave to start on two, one, bop, 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 one, bop, 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 the bop, one, bop, 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 the bop. Now, all of those rhythms you would hear in the music, but you would hear the drummers play those rhythms. But the horn players and banjo, piano, tuba, bass players later on, which replaced the tuba and the brass instruments, you would hear them relating to those rhythms. And it's very important that once it is understood that those rhythms are dominant and they provide what we consider to be the glue, so that everything that is played musically, all the phrasing and all of the counter melodies are sort of associated with that clave. Now I'm going to take you to a place where we understand the rhythms, all of these rhythms that we are hearing come straight out of Africa. And I'm going to demonstrate that to you. And I waited until now. I did not want to overload you in the beginning because I just didn't want to do that. So now is the time when we're going to do that. So I'll pat here with my hand so that you can hear and see what's being played. So in African music, you have, if you would intellectualize it, you would call it 6/8, but it's not really 6/8. It's a two beat, and it's one and a two and a three and a four and a one and a two, a three and a four, or it could be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 and a two and a one and a two and a one and a two and a one and a two. Now in America, it became known as a 12/8 pattern. So it'd be 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and a 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. Now we're going to get to the meat of this. And pardon my pun because I'm vegetarian. I don't eat meat. But anyway, we're going to get to the source of where this rhythm is now. So I'm going to play that rhythm again, demonstrate it, but I'm going to take out 2 beats. So I'll start with all the beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to take out 2 beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Now I'm going to take out 1 beat and 1, 2 and 3, 4 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 and 1, 2, 3. All right, now you noticed, excuse me for shaking my iPad here. I just get so exuberant when I'm playing rhythms. Anyway, what you noticed is that where we wound up at is the cymbal ride beat pattern that you hear in jazz. And it sounds like, that's what you hear. But what you hear is what's going on underneath is that 12 beat pattern. And so you'll hear 6 beats that are sort of juxtaposed within a 4 beat bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and basically we can say that the African way of dealing with time and rhythm is triplets, based upon triplets. Da 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 da. Now, when you start breaking it up, that's where the syncopation comes in, because you focus on a beat within that triplet pattern. So if you were to sing or play da dee da da dee da 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 da. Now, what if we said, and we can say this, that melody is rhythm in motion? Why? Why is melody rhythm in motion? Because if you take rhythm, da dee da 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 dee da da da, and put tonalities to it, dee da do dee da do da do dee da dee da da bam bam boom beep bam. So those are rhythms, but you put tonalities on each beat, and it becomes a melody. And so I wanted to give you clarity with that, because now when you listen to jazz, you can hear the correlation between melody and rhythm. And the rhythm that the drummer plays is the rhythms that the melody player, whoever plays a melodic instrument, those folks are playing phrasings, melodic phrasings, based upon the rhythms that they hear coming from the point of the drums. And that goes back to another point. My belief is that the drums in African music is the leader of the ensemble. If you ever get an opportunity, and I ask you to do so if you can, to experience a West African dance troupe, you will note that when the dancers come out, there are lead drummers. The lead drummer are playing the djembe drum, which is the lead drum, and it's shaped like almost like an hourglass, shaped and then comes straight down. It's a very high-pitched drum. The dancers dance out on the floor, and the lead dancer kneel on one knee and places their palm on the floor in front of the lead drummer to indicate that the drummer is the leader. Following that, the dancers dance, and every time that there is to be a change in the step of the dancers, the lead drummer plays a signal on the drum, a rhythmic signal, which indicates, okay, we're going to the next step. and the drummer plays the rhythm of the step. That is generally missed by most people because they don't understand that there is a correlation between the drummer and the dancer. Now I'm saying I went this far to say all of this because just to prepare you for what you're going to listen to now. So we're going to go to, we listen to New Orleans style music. What happened after New Orleans style music moved forward and expanded into what we would consider big bands. And those rhythms that were inherent in New Orleans music, you now hear in the environment of the big band. So let's go to one of the greatest of all big bands, who started back in the teens, in the 1900s, Duke Ellington. And this first piece, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Now, that was Duke Ellington. The song was written by Juan Tizol. Juan Tizol was Mexican. And he played trombone. And as you heard in that song, you could hear an African rhythm in the background underneath propelling this song. Duke Ellington came up in the era where it went from New Orleans to swing. And it was called swing because it had such a buoyancy to it. The rhythm, the pulse. And so later on, there were other instrumentalists and big bands. We're going to play one now, Count Basie. And you notice we've got royalty in the house because you've got the Duke of Ellington and the Count of Basie. And, you know, they say that the great musicians are known by one name or a title. And so in this case, we're going to listen to Count Basie, who was born in Red Bank, New Jersey, but migrated to Kansas City, where he made his mark there and formed a band after playing with Benny Moulton and others. He started leading his own band, and he had a very strong sense of swing to his music as well. This is Count Basie, and this is April in Paris. And I want to point out that the trumpeter who takes the solo there, in the studio, they recorded, took I don't know how many takes of this particular song, and it just didn't gel until the trumpeter decided to play a melody that everyone knew, and it sort of like propelled the song, and it became a big hit after that. Count Basie, April in Paris. That was the great Count Basie, and I hope that some of you were able to see Count or Duke Ellington. Maybe you're old enough to have seen Count Basie and Duke Ellington. And but those were two great hits for both of those band leaders, and they played in the era of swing, which was somewhere 1932 to the mid 40s, 45, and in the 40s is when bebop started to appear and become a little stronger, and it became a music that was utilized by smaller groups, you know, quartets and quintets. Big bands started to lose prominence because of the Depression years, and big bands weren't able to be afforded as much. And that's another subject to talk about. This whole idea of what we're discussing here has, in my history course, it takes two meetings a week over 14 lessons a semester 14 weeks in a semester to discuss all of this, and I'm trying to narrow it down to just 4 weeks and 4 opportunities to discuss. And so there is another band leader that was very important, very prominent that during that time in the 30s. His name is Benny Goodman. Benny Goodman is the first person to nationally integrate his band with black members. He had Teddy Wilson on piano, and he had Gene Krupa the great Gene Krupa on drums, and Lionel Hampton on vibes, and himself on clarinet. But this was a big band rendering of Benny Goodman's, and the name of this song is Sing, Sing, Sing. Yeah, the great Benny Goodman. There are some other video recordings available which focuses on his quartet, which featured Lionel Hampton, Teddy Wilson, and Gene Krupa. And that band didn't have a bass player. It was just the four of them. It was an interesting arrayment of musicians that came together. I don't have anything with me today that I put here for you, but maybe next week we can get that together. But I want to move fast here because we're still in swing music. The other musician that I want to focus on now is a musician from Baltimore, and Chick Webb. And Chick Webb died at a very young age. He had a humpback, and he was born that way. But he was Ella Fitzgerald's first husband, and he also was the first one to put her to work. After Ella won all of those contests in New York at the Apollo Theater singing contest, they barred her from, she couldn't even compete anymore because she just wiped all the other vocalists out. And she was just a teenager. And so you heard Ella last week, and so she was great even then. And so she joined his band. But in Harlem, New York, there was a club called the Savoy. The Savoy Ballroom. And the Savoy Ballroom would feature two big bands. And in the 30s, during the swing era, jazz music was basically a dance music. It was a music that people danced to and listened to. And they emulated their steps by what they heard the musicians play. And Chick Webb played at the Savoy Ballroom every week. And there were other bands that were brought in to play against him. So they would call it the Battle of the Big Bands. Chick Webb always won. He never let anybody down. And even Benny Goodman went up against him. And Chick Webb still won hands down. But we're going to play a Chick Webb song, and we'll see where that takes us. Now we're still in the swing area. The great Chick Webb. He died young, and when he died, Ella Fitzgerald took the band over for 3 years, but she couldn't keep it going, and the band finally broke up, and so therefore she became a big star as a result over the years. We're going to move forward now towards bebop. Now, before we do, I want to discuss the idea of improvisation. And one of the greatest elements, if not the greatest element, of jazz music is the idea of improvisation. And in this sense, it means that basically you make it up as you go along. Now, that doesn't mean that you play anything. It means that you make up what you play based upon the chordal structure of the song that you're in. And you take the chords that you are using as a melodic source for what your improvisation will be. And your improvisation is not something that's determined before you get to the gig, before you get to the bandstand, or just before you play the song. You don't say, well, this is, you put the music up and you're going to play everything that's on that sheet of music in that song. When you see musicians put music up on the stage to play any music, any style of music, especially jazz, what they are referring to is the form of the song and the melodic phrasing that is to be played during the melody, or a section of a song that is to be played. All of the soloing is you make it up as you go along based upon the chordal structure of the song. In the 1930s and in the 20s, the structural combinations of the songs created were what we refer to as 32-bar songs. It means that each song had 32 bars. It had A, B, A is how we describe 32 bars. A, B, A, meaning you've got 8 bars of A, another 8 bars of A, and the B is the bridge, and then you get another 8 bars of A to lead you back to the top of the song. So if you know the song, if you're familiar with the song, I've got rhythm, I've got rhythm, I've got rhythm, or sing, 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 those are 32-bar songs. And so when you are improvising on those songs, you are following the chord progressions and you are picking out the melodic note that you deem necessary to play at that particular time while you're in that chord, in that form. And so that's why it's important to understand that improvisation is such a unique ability that in jazz, it's what separates that music from all other music. The idea of improvising and the idea of making it up as you go along, and you're not reading any of it except for the melodic part of it that describes what the song is or the theme. And so now we're going to move into bebop, where that becomes even a deeper idea, because from swing to bebop, how did it change? Why was it called bebop? Why was it called swing? Basically, if we look at when music is changed, it is changed because the drummer, now listen to this, this is very important. The drummer in the band is what the leader of the band allowed to create his own vibe, so to speak, to create his own part. And in so doing, many times that is what innovated the music, leaving the drummer alone. I'm so glad to be a drummer. But basically, those bands, all of the all of the bands that innovated, Louis Armstrong's band, you can go back to Louis Armstrong, and he had 2 innovative drummers, Zutty Singleton and Baby Dodds. And you go back to Count Basie. Well, then the innovator there was Papa Joe Jones. And in Duke Ellington's band was Sonny Greer. He was, these drummers, when you see them on stage, they didn't have music in front of them. They had all an array of instruments, timpanis and glockenspiel and chimes and vibraphones and all of that. They had no music because they were creating their own parts. You could also look at, in bebop, the drummers that were left alone to create their own parts was Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark, and followed by Max Roach and Art Blakey. I want you all to know that Billy Eckstine's big band was a band in the early 40s, 45, 46. Billy Eckstine was a vocalist, a tremendous baritone vocalist, but that also played valve trombone. I don't know if this is a track where he sings it. I hope it is, where he sings and plays. But Billy Eckstine's band is the band that many of the young bebop musicians came out of. Charlie Parker, Art Blakey. Art Blakey was the first person that you heard play the drums on that song that demonstrated call and response, moaning. That was Art Blakey. Well, Art Blakey played drums in this band as well. He started there. And Dexter Gordon and Dizzy Gillespie. Miles Davis played in that band. And Sarah Vaughan sang in the band. So we're going to play this and just listen to the it was a different vibe from the other big bands that you heard. This was looser and had the arrangements were just a little bit slicker. Give a listen. I miss my baby, I will till the day I die. I walk round in circles. Oh, I love Billy Eckstine. Billy Eckstine went on to become a very popular, famous vocalist. He broke the band up and gave the books to Dizzy Gillespie. Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Bird Parker were the guys that took bebop to where it is today. And we're going to play some Charlie Parker next week because we're going to move from bebop to hard bop, and then from hard bop to modal, and from modal to avant-garde, and then to fusion. You have a great week. I thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You make my day.